Okay, in our glasses today we have a Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is a black grape variety. It has a lot of pigmentation in its skins, so is almost the opposite to Gamay, which I explained in a previous video. Has only a little bit of pigmentation in its skin, so produces a pale coloured wine. Cabernet Sauvignon has a lot of pigmentation, so tends to produce a very deep colour. So that's the first thing you should notice, is that this wine has a deep intensity. This could also be described as ruby. This is the classic definition of ruby with this wine, and you'll certainly find in a Cabernet Sauvignon that's of a more recent age, it's going to be ruby. As the wine gets older, it becomes more garnet in colour, so it develops that sort of orangey tint in the rim. So that's the appearance. We can describe this as a deep ruby. So let's move on to the nose. Give the glass a good swirl so we can volatilize some of those aromatic compounds that we have in our glass and take a deep sniff. Okay, pronounced intensity with this wine, and the aroma characteristics. This is complex. There's more to it than just being a simple wine. So first make your decision, is it simple or is it complex? Now start making your decisions as to how you will describe the primary, secondary and tertiary aromatics. Primary aromatics, black fruit. Again, complete opposite to the Gamay that we've tried before. This has black fruit characters, primarily black currant. There's some black cherry, there's some blackberry even, and some black plum in here too. But there is a trace of red fruit underlying it all. Bit of cherry, bit of plum as well. But the focus is definitely on the black fruit characteristics. Now there's bags of oak in here as well. Hopefully you're picking up on that. The vanilla, the cedar, the sweet spice in here. No tertiary, perhaps some dried fruit characteristics. Do you know what? Cooked fruit. Let's say some cooked fruit. Now this is an Australian Cabernet Sauvignon. It comes from Coonawarra, where the climate is very warm, and therefore the fruit is always going to have that slightly ripe element to it, that slightly more cooked or baked element to it than you might find in a Cabernet Sauvignon from Bordeaux, for example. So I think, and let's just check the lexicon. Yes, cooked fruit under fruit ripeness. So that's another thing that you can do when you're looking at wine, is actually ask yourself, does the fruit taste unripe, ripe, or does it taste cooked? Or is there a dried fruit element to it? To ask yourself that question about the quality of the fruit as well. That will then help you be able to link the characteristics of the wine with where it comes from and the sorts of climates you might have found it growing in. Okay, so that's the nose. Let's move on to the palate. Okay, dry, of course. Most red wines will be. In fact, on this course you won't taste any sweet red wine, so all red wines will be dry. The acidity is really high, as are the tannins as well. There are lots of tannins in Cabernet Sauvignon skin, so you should always get a very high tannic wine with Cabernet Sauvignon. However, they are very fine and they feel nice, don't they? They add a real freshness to the otherwise full-bodied wine. The alcohol is high as well. We're talking about 14% in this particular wine, and the flavour intensity is pronounced. Flavour characteristics. Write down everything you found on the nose. But isn't it lovely and fresh? I'm really enjoying this wine. It's nice. And then there's a long finish on it as well. Quality. We can go nowhere other than outstanding. It was complex. It had a long finish. It was pronounced in intensity. So, and it was beautifully balanced. Even though it's high in alcohol and full-bodied, it had enough fruit character and fresh acidity to keep the wine fresh. So we have to say this is an outstanding quality Cabernet Sauvignon. I hope you enjoyed.